All right, so you're getting ready for an ICT Network Technician interview. That's awesome. We've got a ton of great RoleCatcher resources here to help you really nail it. Think of
Mhm.
this deep dive as your secret weapon,
Yeah.
not just for prepping for the interview itself, but for a successful career in this field.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll cover things like typical questions you can expect, smart strategies to answer them, and even some potential follow-up questions to really impress the interviewer.
Nice. And we'll also throw in some valuable career insights along the way. Stuff like salary expectations and potential advancement opportunities so you can walk into that interview feeling confident and totally prepared.
Yeah.
But first, let's talk about RoleCatcher's AI advantage. This is where things get really
Oh,
interesting.
yeah, for sure. So RoleCatcher's AI can actually tailor your CV or resume to each specific job description. It can analyze the keywords and skills they're looking for and help you emphasize those in your application.
It's like a secret decoder ring for applicant tracking systems. And it gets even better. It also gives you AI feedback on practice interview questions. It helps you pinpoint areas for improvement and suggests stronger wording. It's like having a personal coach in your pocket.
Exactly. Speaking of interview questions, let's dive into some common ones you might encounter. You ready to tackle this?
Absolute, bring it on.
Okay, here's a classic. Describe your experience in troubleshooting network issues. And remember, they're not just looking for a list of problems you've solved.
Right, so it's more about showcasing your process.
Exactly. Walk them through your steps. How do you approach a network issue systematically? Think about identifying the problem, isolating the cause, testing solutions, and ultimately, of course, resolving the issue.
Got it. And don't forget to use those technical terms, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Mention specific tools and techniques you use, things like ping.traceroute.network analyzers. Show off your technical know-how. And always have some real-life examples ready to go.
Yeah, because stories stick.
Yeah,
The more concrete your examples are, the more memorable you'll be.
for sure. Now, be prepared for a potential follow-up question, too. Like, what's the most challenging network issue you've faced and how did you overcome it?
Mhm.
This is your chance to really shine.
So choose a situation that really tested your skills, explain the steps you took, the tools you used, and how you ultimately saved the day.
Exactly. Show them you can handle the pressure and come out on top. This is a big one.
Definitely. This is where you demonstrate your multi-layered approach to security.
Right. Talk about firewalls, intrusion detection systems, antivirus software, strong passwords, the whole 9 yards. And be sure to highlight your knowledge of security protocols like SSLTLS, IPsec, Doc SSH. They want to see that you really understand the fundamentals of network security.
It's all about painting a picture of a security-conscious professional. You're not just relying on one thing. You're thinking about security from all angles.
Exactly. Now be ready for a follow-up question here too. They might ask something like, can you describe a time you had to implement a new security measure? What challenges did you encounter?
Story time again. Talk about a specific situation, the challenges you faced, and how you ultimately found a solution. This shows you can adapt and problem solve in those real-world scenarios.
Absolutely. Okay, next up is a question that's all about staying ahead of the curve. How do you stay updated with the latest networking technologies?
Ah, the lifelong learner question. This is where you prove you're not just content with what you know now. You're constantly seeking out new knowledge and staying up to date.
Right. Mention things like industry blogs, forums, podcasts, conferences. Things that show you're really plugged into the networking world. And don't forget about certifications. Cisco, CCNA, CompTIA Network plus D, those carry a lot of weight.
Yeah, they show you're committed to professional development and staying at the top of your game.
Exactly. And be prepared for a follow-up question like, what emerging networking technology excites you most and why?
Ooh, I love this one. This is your chance to really geek out a little. Talk about a technology that's really capturing your attention and explain why it's so cool. Enthusiasm is contagious and it shows you're truly passionate about this field.
Right. Okay, next up. Describe your experience with network monitoring tools. This is where you can really showcase your hands-on experience.
Time to name drop those popular tools
Ruh.
like Nagio's PRTG SolarWinds, but don't just list them off right.
No, definitely not. Go a bit deeper. Talk about their key features, how you've used them in the past, and how you've even customized them to meet specific needs.
Show them you understand how to really tailor those tools to get the most out of them.
Exactly. And be ready for a follow-up question like, can you share an instance where a monitoring tool helped you prevent a major network outage? This is where you can showcase those proactive problem-solving skills.
Talk about how the monitoring tool alerted you to a potential issue and how you swooped in to prevent a major headache. It shows you're not just reacting to problems, you're anticipating them.
Right. All right, next question is all about keeping those systems humming. How do you ensure network uptime and availability? This one's all about high availability solutions.
So things like redundant links, load balancing, failover mechanisms, all the things that keep the network running smoothly even when something goes wrong.
Exactly. And don't forget to mention disaster recovery planning and testing. You're showing them that you're thinking about those worst case scenarios.
Yeah.
And that you have a plan in place.
You're a planner, you're prepared, and you're not going to let a little downtime ruin your day.
Right. They might ask you to walk them through your process, something like, what steps would you take to minimize downtime during a planned network upgrade? They want to see how you think ahead and manage change effectively.
So break it down for them step by step. Show them you've got a system.
Exactly. Now let's talk about those oh no moments with this question. How do you manage network security incidents? This is where you demonstrate that you can stay calm under pressure. You've got a process, you know what to do, you're the steady hand at the wheel.
Right, so walk them through that typical incident response process.
Yeah.
Identify, contain, eradicate, recover documents, like a well-oiled machine.
Exactly. And you can briefly mention tools for analysis too, like malware analysis, packet capture log analysis, just to showcase your technical toolkit.
Exactly. You're prepared for anything.
Right. Now, they might throw a bit of a curveball and ask, have you ever had to deal with a data breach? How did you handle the situation? This one can be tough, but be honest. Focus on the steps you took and highlight what you learned from the experience. It shows that you can learn from your mistakes and grow from challenges.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about a future of networking with this question. Describe your experience with network virtualization.
Ah, yes. This is where you can really showcase your knowledge of those cutting-edge technologies. Talk about things like VLANs, VXLANs, GRE tunnels, virtual switches and routers. And don't forget to mention big players like VMware NSX and Cisco ACI.
And don't be afraid to dive into the benefits of software-defined networking and network automation too. It shows you understand where the industry is headed and that you're eager to be a part of it.
Exactly. Now be ready for them to ask, what are the advantages and challenges of implementing a software-defined network? They want to see if you've really thought about this technology beyond just the buzzwords.
So highlight the benefits, but be realistic about the challenges too. It shows you're a critical thinker, not just a cheerleader for every new technology that comes along.
Right. All right, one last question for this section, and it's all about compliance. How do you ensure network compliance with regulations and standards?
Oh, the rules and regs.
Yeah.
It's all about protecting sensitive information
Yeah,
and making sure everything is by the book.
exactly. Mention HIPAA, PCI, DSS, GDPR. Those are the big ones. And highlight the need for compliance audits and assessments. You're demonstrating that attention to detail.
And don't forget to mention strong network security policies and procedures. It shows you're not just going through the motions. You're serious about compliance.
Exactly. Now they might ask, how do you stay informed about changes in relevant regulations and standards?
This is where you show you're proactive and on top of things.
Yeah.
You're not waiting for someone to tell you what to do. You're seeking out that information yourself.
Exactly. You're a go-getter. All right, we've covered a lot of ground here, but before we move on to some valuable career insights, let's take a quick pause.
Sounds good. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Now that we've covered some of those tricky interview questions, let's switch gears a bit and talk about the ICT Network Technician career path itself.
Yeah, because acing that interview is just the first step, right? You ultimately want a career that's fulfilling and engaging, and has plenty of room for growth, of course.
Absolutely. And this career path definitely ticks those boxes. The world's reliance on technology is only increasing, which means the demand for skilled network technicians is skyrocketing.
That's great to hear. Job security is always a plus. But where can this role actually lead? What are some of the typical advancement paths?
Well, one path you could take is becoming a network administrator. You'd be responsible for the day-to-day operations of a network. You might also be involved in planning and implementing those network upgrades.
So to step up in terms of responsibility and decision-making, sounds like a great way to really build on the skills you've gained as a technician.
Exactly. And if you're more interested in the design and implementation side of things, then the network engineer path might be a good fit. They design and build brand new networks, They troubleshoot those really complex problems. It's definitely a more technical role that requires a deep understanding of network architecture.
Ooh, building the infrastructure itself. That sounds pretty exciting. What about leadership roles? Is there a path for those who want to manage teams?
Absolutely. You could aim for an IT manager role. You'd be overseeing the entire IT department, including the network team, of course. You'd be responsible for things like budgeting, staffing, and strategic planning. You know, the big picture stuff.
So from hands-on technical work to leadership and strategy, there really is a lot of room to grow and explore different areas within this field. That's awesome.
It is. And of course, we can't forget about the financial side of things. The average salary range for an ICT network technician is between $45,000 and $70,000 per year.
Not bad at all. But that can vary based on location experience and those all-important certifications, of course.
Speaking of certifications, they are absolutely essential for career growth in this field. They demonstrate to potential employers that you're serious about your craft and that you have the skills to back it up. We've already talked about the Cisco CCNA and CompTIA network plus IA.
But there are plenty of others to consider depending on your interests.
Like what? What other certifications would you recommend exploring?
Well, if you're interested in cloud computing, the Microsoft certified Azure Administrator Associate is a great option. Or if you're leaning more towards security, the Certified Information Systems Security Professional, or CISSP for short, is very highly respected. So many choices. It's like choosing your own adventure within the networking world.
Exactly. And don't forget about those vendor-specific certifications, which can be super valuable depending on the specific equipment your employer uses.
It's all about staying ahead of the curve and showing those potential employers that you're really invested in your professional development.
I couldn't agree more. Now let's bring RoleCatcher back into the picture here for a second. Remember how we talked about its AI-powered tools for tailoring your CV and practicing those interview questions?
Yes, those tools are fantastic. They can be really helpful throughout your entire career, actually, not just when you're first starting out.
Exactly. As you gain experience and start looking for new opportunities, RoleCatcher can help you showcase your skills and target the right roles. It really is like having a career coach right there in your pocket.
Speaking of showcasing your skills, let's revisit those real-life examples we talked about earlier, the ones that really demonstrate your problem-solving prowess.
Yes, those stories are pure gold. Think back to your experiences and try to identify specific situations where you really shone. For instance, a time you successfully troubleshooted a complex network issue. What specific steps did you take? What tools did you use? What was the outcome?
Oh, I've got a great one. One time we had a network outage that was affecting a really critical application. It was all hands on deck. The pressure was definitely on. I used a combination of ping traceroute and packet capture analysis to isolate the problem to a faulty switch.
Nice. So you used your knowledge of those network diagnostic tools to quickly pinpoint the source of the issue.
Exactly. I replaced the switch and boom, network was back up and running in minutes. My boss was so relieved, I felt like a total rock star.
That's a fantastic example. It highlights your technical skills, your ability to work under pressure, and the positive impact you had on the organization. Now, think about a time you implemented a new security measure.
Yeah.
What challenges did you face, and how did you overcome them?
Let me see. Oh, I remember. I once implemented a new firewall policy to restrict access to some sensitive data. The challenge there was that some users were used to having more open access, so I had to really clearly communicate the reasons behind that new policy.
That's a really great point. Security measures often require a shift in user behavior, so communication and change management are super important.
Exactly. I had to work closely with users to make sure they could still do their jobs effectively, while also maintaining a high level of security. It was definitely a balancing act. But ultimately, we found a solution that worked for everyone.
Excellent. It shows that you can navigate the human side of technology implementation, which is so important. Now, how about a time you used a network monitoring tool to prevent a major problem?
I've got one. Our network monitoring tool once alerted me to a huge spike in traffic on a particular server. I investigated and discovered a script was running that was consuming way too much bandwidth. Talk about a resource hog.
So the monitoring tool allowed you to be proactive and address the issue before it could escalate.
Exactly. I terminated that script, and the traffic levels went back to normal. It prevented a potential network slowdown or even a crash. It felt good to catch that one early.
These are all fantastic examples. They really showcase your skills, your experience, and your ability to think critically and solve problems. Remember, these stories are what will really make you stand out in an interview. They bring your technical abilities to life and show the interviewer who you are as a professional.
Yeah, they're not just hiring a set of skills, they're hiring a person. And these stories help you connect with the interviewer on that human level.
Precisely. Now, as we wrap up this segment, I want to emphasize the importance of soft skills in this field.
Soft skills, you mean like communication and teamwork?
Exactly. As an ICT network technician, you'll constantly be interacting with users, colleagues, and managers. So being able to communicate effectively, both verbally and in writing, is crucial.
That makes sense. You need to be able to explain those complex technical concepts in a way that non-technical people can understand.
Right. And teamwork is also essential. You'll often be working as part of a team to solve problems and implement solutions. So being a collaborative and supportive team player is absolutely key.
So it's not just about your technical chops. It's about being a well-rounded individual who can communicate, collaborate, and contribute positively to a team environment.
Absolutely. All right, we've covered a lot of ground in this segment. Let's take a quick breather and then come back for our final thoughts and some resources to help you ace that interview and launch your ICT network technician career.
All right, we're back, ready to wrap up our deep dive into preparing for your ICT network technician interview.
Yeah, we've covered a ton of ground here, from understanding the role itself to mastering those tricky interview questions and exploring all those exciting career paths that await.
So much good stuff.
Yeah.
But let's bring it all together. What are the key takeaways you really want our listeners to walk away with today?
Well, I think first and foremost, preparation is key. Use all the insights and tips we've discussed to craft those tailored answers that really showcase your skills and your experience. Remember, this is your chance to shine.
Right, don't just rattle off those generic responses. Think about the specific job you're applying for and how your unique skills and experiences align with their needs.
Exactly. And don't forget, they're not just looking for someone who's technically competent. They're also looking for a great communicator, a problem solver, and a team player.
Right, someone who's not just skilled, but also personable and easy to work with. Those soft skills are just as important as those technical ones.
Absolutely. Now, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought, something that could really make a difference in your overall career trajectory.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Consider specializing. As you gain more experience, think about focusing on a specific area within networking, like security, virtualization, or even cloud computing. These are all really hot areas with huge growth potential.
Yeah, specialization is a great way to set yourself apart from the crowd. Become an expert in a high-demand field and really boost your career prospects. It's like choosing your own adventure within that vast world of networking.
Exactly. And remember, RoleCatcher is there to support you every step of the way. From AI-powered tools to career guides to interview prep materials, they've got you covered.
It's like having a personal career coach and a toolbox full of resources all rolled into one. So go out there, prepare diligently, showcase those amazing skills, and land that dream job.
We're all rooting for you out there.
Good luck.